Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with another episode of 5 Hobby Questions. And today it's the honor and privilege to bring you the great Cage lawyer from LukaTigerLebron. And Cage, we've been waiting for this one. I wanted to do 7 people before I got you on here just to make sure I was prepared for this, right?
Look at that.
This
Cage
has got the
on
potential
cardboard. I love it, dude. Look at
you. See it. You
Look
just now
you.
see that. We talked
Look
on
at
screen,
you.
but you see what I did there, right?
John, that is nice. Look at you.
Yeah.
Look
So it's
I
it's
am
exciting
the
to have you on.
I am the Ocho. This was a strategy for you to hold me off until the Ocho. We'll see. It's a bold strategy. We'll see how that pays off for you, Cotton.
Right. Yeah, it's like you have exhibition games, right, in your professional sports seasons to get ready for the opening night, the real deal. So this is my first real deal interview, right? So I always do this, Cage. I always like to screen share real quick. And I'm your Andrew today, so you're gonna have to treat me like Andrew. Well, actually, you need to treat me a little better than you treat Andrew.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna share. This is Cage's Instagram page right here. Okay, so Cage Lawyer, pretty simple. Can't miss there. Also, another one that I suggest you guys follow, LukaTigerLebron podcast. Right next to it, and then on YouTube, this is where I listen to you guys. I know you guys are on a million different pod platforms, which I'm still trying to figure out with my channel. I'm only on Spotify. I got to figure that out.
Yeah, we get a lot through Apple, Apple,
Yep.
Spotify, but anywhere, it's everywhere.
Yep, and this is it, like Luka Nation Network, Sports Card Podcast. So that's where you guys need to go to subscribe. If you guys like my channel and you like listening to the stuff that I do, I'm a little outside the box. Cage and Andrew are a lot outside the box, and they are a fantastic listen. I don't want to disparage any other content creators out there, but there's probably, Cage, maybe 5, 6 that I regularly listen to, and you guys are on that list of 5, 6 because our thought process and our inquisitive natures are so similar and so aligned that it's just an easy listen for me to hit it and listen to it on the way home from work.
Hit it and quit it. I think I thought the reason you loved it was because we sound exactly the same. We have the same accent.
No, not quite. Not quite. All right. So before we start, first of all, Cage, what do you like? Pele, Madonna,
Cage,
Prince. What
boom,
the hell?
one
What
name.
is your name? Do you have a name, or is that something you'd like to keep private?
My name is Matt, believe it or not. But yeah, I
Matt
tell people
Cage.
Cage. People don't
Okay.
even know that. People are like,
No.
his name isn't Cage.
Yeah.
His name's not Cage. Now that, by the way, that's the breaking news. That is breaking news. People
I
are
broke
gonna be
huge news.
That's huge news. People are gonna be like, what? I thought his name was Cage. Nope.
No one's ever asked
Nope.
ever.
No.
We get intimate and personal on this channel, man. This is the real deal here. So
There you go.
yeah.
Cage.
All right,
Nah,
so
man,
let's
let's
go.
go for
You
it.
got 1 million followers, right? Everybody
Yeah,
listens
no.
to your stuff.
I have less than 3,000 followers. No one follows me.
You know what I mean? Well, how about this? Everyone knows who you are. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way, right?
Yep.
So you're a big personality in the hobby, but do me a favor for those people that are watching today's episode and that watch my channel who may not know you, try to describe yourself in like 10 words or less, which is a challenge for people like you and me because we would like to use 10,000 words.
10
But
words.
Give me 10.
All right. Father,
Yeah.
lawyer, collector, I'd say investor, sometimes flipper. I think I have 4 words left. Let's see what I got there. Husband. Oh, man. 3 more. I mean, I'm not doing that great of a job. 3 more. Let's see. Sports fan, old man.
Old man's 2 words. Perfect 10.
There we go. That's a 10.
Yeah. You and I have
Some
a lot of the
hyphens.
same. Yeah. Probably 8 out of our 10 match up there, I think. Maybe even all 10 of them match up. So, all right. So you're the most outside of the box person in the hobby. I'm pretty outside the box. I think you're even more outside the box. I love listening to you guys just kind of chase and jump just head first down rabbit holes on your channel. I've got 5 pretty outside the box questions for you today. So this should be a pretty easy episode to get through. A couple softballs, but
So
I'm
just, a little Boy Scout, Scout's honor, one of those things. I wasn't the Boy Scout, so I should start off by not lying, not say Scout's honor. I'm not even a Scout, so I guess it doesn't mean anything. But you sent me over questions.
Yeah.
I read the first one and was like, hey, I'll get back to this before we record, and I'll actually have answers done. But I
totally
didn't.
unprepared.
So
Perfect.
I am completely unprepared, but that's the way I roll on the show, man. So it's going to be fresh. It's going to be like, I'm going to have to be like, all right, it's going to be an honest answer. It's going to be right off the top of my head. So
I
let's
got
see.
it. I got it.
Can't wait for these.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
The 10 word one was the one that I read, and I should have been prepared for that.
All right, now we're ready. All right. All right, question number 1. You're going to love this one. This is the one you did read. I do send my guests the 5 questions beforehand because I want them to have thoughtful, prepared answers.
Yeah, not me.
Thought, but I get none of that from you. So here we go.
Sorry.
Question number 1. If Bob Cousy played Ja Morant in one-on-one to 100 points, make it, take it,
Woo.
What would the final score be?
100-0 Ja Morant.
Okay.
I think 100-0 Ja Morant. I don't even think Cousy gets the ball. He may score if he gets it first, but even that, I think. Listen, I'm a lunatic, but I think you just thought out Cousy like Demolition Man. Like Sylvester Stallone, right? He's about to go chase Simon Phoenix, right? He comes out of it, and it's like, he's got his weird shorts on. He's expecting a plumber to be across from him. He goes for his little set shot, and Ja's going to block it. You know what I mean? And then Ja's literally going to back him down and dunk on him every single time. Like, Ja can probably score on him every time. It's a different game.
It's different. And that's why people get offended, right? Old people get offended. We're old. Like, that doesn't offend me because, I said it would be about 100-4 because I think Ja would need 50 baskets. I think there's a chance Cousy could just back up and keep backing up and at some point make 2. But I'm at about 100 to – I'm going to say 3.5 is the over-under. So I'm going to say about 100-4. Okay? But so that's something to keep in mind when we see these all-time lists. We're not saying that George Mikan is better than freaking Andre Drummond. We're just, kind of comparing how they do when they competed against their peers in their era. And so that's kind of something to keep in mind. And anybody out there, and obviously you share the same opinion as me, anybody out there who thinks basketball players from the 50 not named Wilt could play or maybe Bill could play basketball with, people in this era are nuts, especially.
So I got a challenge for you, though, on that. Remember, basketball in the NBA is not a one-on-one game, but they used to play that stuff. Take a look, guys. If you go on YouTube, Kareem against Dr. J.
I saw that.
They played one-on-one. They actually did stuff like that, in the olden days. And that was fun to watch, right? Because that's a heck of a matchup. And, Kareem basically ate his lunch because Kareem's a lot bigger. Kareem's a lot taller. But obviously Dr. J got it in a close on a couple of them. Here's the difference, though, right? They are playing 5-on-5 in the NBA. So, if Ja goes to block Cousy's shot, Cousy could pass it. Like, there are other people playing, right? And one-on-one's different, man. God Shamgod is probably not going to win a lot of actual NBA games. But one-on-one at Rucker or, wherever he might be playing, he can cook some people because he's got handles. He can make you look foolish. It's different one-on-one versus 5-on-5.
I disagree. I don't think there was a day in Bob Cousy's life where he would be able to play basketball on a court with modern players. I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy. I'm sharing JJ Redick's opinion here. Despite the fact that he did dominate and he was a fantastic player in his era, the ball never touches his left hand. And the guy never leaves the floor to shoot a basketball.
I mean, when was the last time you watched Magic? Magic Johnson never really went left either.
Oh, he's 6'9".
He could play today,
and he had a giant butt. He'd turn around and put you in the goal. Bob Cousy's just a little dude, man.
I mean, I think, what you have is obviously you had a very good team around him, and that is really where it comes down, right? It's a team game, right? It's five players. Like Bob Cousy could probably play if he was on, the Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? And he didn't have to play inside, and he had Draymond doing the dirty work, and all he had to do was make sure he found a lane, a little guy who could find a lane, and pass the ball to Steph and Clay to shoot. I mean, it depends on what you're having him do. I get where you're going. I mean,
you got to guard somebody.
And this is where it becomes different. I mean, it's very difficult to have those GOAT conversations, and that's, I think, the thought provocation of a question like this, right?
It permeates the argument no matter what. You're like, no, we can't play with this guy. Yeah, but it's what did he do in his era? So that's
also
always
recency bias, right? I mean, look, LeBron might cook anyone in one-on-one. He's a huge size advantage. He'd probably give Michael Jordan problems. I know that's blasphemy. Well,
look,
to say that. Right?
In one-on-one, the big man's are going to always have the advantage. I tell you what, Jordan wouldn't be able to play Shaq in one-on-one. It's a whole different game, and I'm with you. Basketball is different than one-on-one. All right, we're digressing, but we both think that Morant would probably have a pretty significant advantage.
I said 100-0, so I'm with you.
Fair enough, yeah. Your top 3, this is question number 2. Name your top 3, your personal favorite basketball base sets of all time.
Ooh, basketball base set.
Pretty to look at. Cards that appeal to you.
Oh, see, that's different, right? So, I mean, like, one of my favorites is the 86, 87 Fleer just because of what it is. But, you know, I don't know if I would necessarily call it a pretty set. It's got cool colors, you know, but I wouldn't say aesthetically it's gorgeous. Most of the stuff that's older doesn't have these boom, you know, kaboom looking shiny color blast. The more recent stuff is pretty. I think a lot of people would probably say PMGs. I know why those are a cool card. I don't really think those are great. I've said it a couple of times on my show. It looks like blood clots. Yeah, that PMG red. It's what I know you're a fan, but
I'm out of them. I'm fresh out, man. I've sold them.
And that's not exactly
you
a
can
base
say whatever
anyway, right? It's not exactly. But the metal sets were gorgeous base. I mean, I think just you know your iconic your sets to look at, right? The original Chrome, the 96 Chrome, is just a really cool, clean-looking set. You know, it's iconic, also good-looking. The 2012 Prism, people like to look at the 2014 Prism, especially because of the parallels and that kind of stuff as well. Mm-hmm. But 2012 Prism base set, I like. I think it's a cool design. Yeah. You know, I think it was something that moved kind of cards forward into this chromium kind of world that we're in now. So what is that? You got the Chrome and you got the
2012
the 2012 Prism. You need a third one for base basketball sets. I'm gonna say the 1990 Skybox set because when I was a kid, I mean that thing came out when I was 13. I was 13 years old when that set came out. It also was one of those like moved the hobby, moved cards forward. Like there was a splash of color. There were cool looking cards, like designs on it. And it kind of brought us out of the 80s and into the 90s. So
it's the first card with a manufactured background. Like it wasn't just the background of the player in that particular game where that shot was taken. You know what I mean?
I also didn't mind looking at the back. Like Michael Jordan was golfing with a picture on the back of his card. Like there was some cool stuff on the backs of them as well. So
absolutely, I love the 90 Skybox. That would have probably been 4th or 5th on my list. The only one I have different is I have the 97 Metal Universe base set in there. I agree with you. Despite the fact that they're preposterously expensive, the reds and greens, I don't think they're that beautiful aesthetically speaking. But I really do like the base set. I think the 97 Metal Universe base set is really cool. So, but yeah, similar list right there for sure. I've seen you talk about a crazy variety of cards on your show. Y'all are like, almost 800 episodes deep, or you're close to 800 episodes deep.
We're getting there.
You've talked about pop culture. You've talked about wrestling. You've talked about football, baseball, basketball, hockey, Stranger Things, NFTs, whatever. Go down the list. So I'm assuming you've got a very outside the box type collection. Tell me about your personal collection. Like, in school we learned, there's all sorts of different charts and graphs. A pie chart. If you had a pie chart and your whole pie was a big circle, break it up into pieces and tell me what size each piece would be based on that genre or that sport or maybe that personal collection for that particular player. Tell me what your collection looks like generally speaking if it was a pie chart.
Right. So generally speaking, if we broke up the sport, I would say about 2/3 of the pie is baseball, which is because I'm old and that's just what we collected. When I was a kid in the 80s, it was baseball cards. They were baseball card stores. They weren't sports cards or sports card stores. I would say half of that is vintage. I have some T206 Cobbs. I have some 33 Gowdy Roots. I have a 52 Mantle. Don't get nuts, guys. It's a 5. And it's a little off-centered. I don't have like a major Mantle, although that card is also starting to get, absurd,
pretty hot,
prices as well. But I buy cards that, that are cool to me. I'm a Yankee fan. So I have an 84 Donruss Mattingly. I have cards for, I have a Jeter. I have cards that, that I couldn't buy when I was a kid in the 80s. The 84 Fleer update of Kirby Puckett and Roger Clemens. The 86 Topps traded Tiffany Barry Bonds.
Yep.
An 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. and PSA 10. Those are cards. The Billy Ripken 89 Fleer with the FF on the back.
Which one? Don't say it.
I got the one, the FF on the back. It's my son's favorite. FF. So it's a lot of, 80s baseball, cards that are nostalgic to me. Yeah. They are not necessarily ones that, are going to 10X anytime soon, but they've all done pretty well in this most recent run-up. I bought my Griffey Jr. PSA 10 for, less than $400. it was like 4,000 during the craziness. I think it's like 1,500 now. But that's a card I don't need to sell. I wasn't buying it because I
bought it to have it.
I bought it because I didn't have one in great condition as a kid. Believe it or not, the one that I did have, I traded for a bunch of Jerome Walton cards. If you're a kid in the
Jerome
80s.
Walton and Dwight Smith. That was a rookie pairing right there. I had my share of. You know who I went with while you were collecting Walton and Smith? I went with Marquise Grissom and Delano DeShields. And that was when I first started to hoard. That was my first investing hoard, was those two guys, unfortunately.
I didn't know how it worked as a kid. You know, it's funny about the cards, right? 87 Topps wood border baseball. I mean, I was trading away my Bo Jackson Future Stars for Paul Molitor because Paul Molitor, 87 Topps, not his rookie, because Molitor was having a hitting streak that year. I didn't realize that if I wanted to buy Molitor, I got to go back and buy the 70s. And so I was on the street going, Molitor's got a 30-something game hitting streak. I'll take his. He has my Bo Jackson. You know, I was trading when Jerome Walton won the Rookie of the Year, and Griffey didn't. It was the pitcher for Baltimore did. Griffey got hurt towards the end of the year. I was trading with my Griffey for Walton.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my collection. I do have some basketball. You can take a look at my page, my Christmas tree post from Christmas last year, and see a lot of what my PC is. I just love every one of those cards. It's dull. It's not shiny. I've started to try to add some shiny to it just because, you know, I think, you know, gold cards are not going away. That is kind of going to be.
You think that's here to stay?
I think that's going to be when people look back at this generation's card, those Prism golds are going to be what people remember, you know, like the PMGs and that kind of stuff. Numbered, rare, you know, chase cards. So, you know, I added a Tim Duncan from 2012.
Prism. I saw that, I saw that nice PSA 9, 2012
Duncan. Add in guys, you know, I mean, basketball. I don't really have too much in the way of football. My football is vintage. I have, you know, like a Montana and a Rice, you know, rookie. I don't really have much in the way of modern football because I think that is a little bit more prospecting than I'm a little more risk averse.
I'm all about prospecting, but I ain't prospecting with six figures, man. Some of that stuff is nuts, bro. That really worries. I'm really worried about some of those people. I can think of a lot of ways to spend $100,000 that don't involve, you know, fill in the blank prospect quarterback who's won nothing. That's just me. All right, so you're gonna like this question a lot. I don't watch MMA, but I kind of have an idea of what happens when they ring the bell. You get one player in NBA history. One player in NBA history to fight today for the MMA world title. Who gives you the best chance? Any player
that's like in their prime, right? This is like in their prime.
Yeah, in their prime, like not right now. Yeah, like in their absolute prime when they were at the peak of their powers. Which NBA player would have the best shot to win the MMA title, if any?
Right. So I don't think any of them really have a shot. I mean, Shaq was a beast, right? And I don't even think he can make weight. I mean,
heavyweight, unlimited.
So, all right. So Shaq would be one, but believe it or not, I'm actually going to go with Kareem on this. He actually trained.
Because the Bruce Lee movie?
He could fight. He could fight. Bruce Lee movie, exactly. Game of Death, man. I mean, check it out. He's in there. I mean, he trained a little bit. You know, a little Bruce Lee action on that one. But yeah, you stole my thunder on that one. That's why I'd go with Kareem. Maybe, you know, look, if we're talking about, you know, like, not backing down, not being afraid, you know, getting in a cage and not being like, you know, just starched in the first 10 seconds, maybe Ron Artest.
I knew you were going to say it. That's my guy. So that's my number one. I've had this argument with a local friend here who's a huge NBA guy, just like me. It's always Ron Artest versus Shaq. And I said, look, I think Ron Artest would do anything and everything to kill another human being. I think he would pull your eyeballs out. He would grab your testicles. He'd do anything and everything to make sure he was the last man standing. Ron Artest is my number one to this question. You can't seriously think if you put Ron Artest in a room with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, there would be anything left of Kareem. It would be blood and bones. That's it.
I mean, the thing about MMA is fighters fight. You know, the biggest thing about, you know, Mike Tyson, Ronda Rousey in her prime was they beat their opponents before their opponent even got in the cage. Yeah. You know, that walk down to the cage, that walk down to the ring, you know, they're in their opponent's mind. And that's why Tyson, you know, obviously Tyson was great, but a lot of his opponents, he beat them before they even rang the bell. I don't think that, you know, the moment would be too big for Artest. getting in a cage where it's 2 men enter, 1 man leave. I think the moment might not be too much for Artest.
Is it safe to assume that Ron Artest has fought in a cage? I mean, I would assume he's probably got experience.
I mean, maybe. It's very possible. It's very possible.
He is the last person in the history of NBA basketball that I would ever want to run into in a dark alley. Let's put it that way.
I mean, he wasn't the biggest guy. I mean, like, there are some fighters. I mean, it really just depends. Like Rick Mahorn.
He would be the biggest MMA fighter in the history. For sure.
You like him. But like somebody like Rick Mahorn, it might be tough to take him down. That dude, he had a posterior.
He did have a posterior
that he utilized. So it'd be tough for them to like single leg.
I don't know how it helps, but yeah, he does. He
like it's tough. You got like a fighter.
I like Artest. I was not expecting you to throw Kareem out there. I thought that we did not discuss this beforehand about Artest. That was completely unprovoked.
Well, because Artest fights. I mean, you think of Artest and you think he's a fighter. You know what I mean?
You see the look in his eyes when he fights, and you're like, no, I'm good here. He's the one. He's the one that would scare the hell out of me. All right. This is a great question, and it's going to supersede basketball. So you can go into any sport you want to, and I've got mine written down right here, and I have a feeling we're probably going to be on the same page. This is a test. You're going to probably be on the same page as me. The greatest what-if athlete of all time. An athlete that either passed away too early, got critically injured too early. We did not get to see his peak for long enough. We may have seen glimpses and seen enough to know what could have been, but who's the one athlete, if you could pick one cage and go back in a time machine and preserve them and make sure that they got to show us, all their God-given talents for an entire career healthy, who's the one athlete in any sport you'd want to see?
I probably won't have the same answer as you. I could probably go with like 4 or 5. But I'm a Raider fan. People don't know that also. I'm a Raider fan. And I believe we were robbed of Bo Jackson. I don't think that there's even I could have other answers, but I don't even think there's a close second, right? Because he was a stud in both baseball and football. And as a Raider fan, like, I just expected I was going to have 5 Super Bowls, like, a whole deal. And just a freak injury that happened to him with his hip. I actually have a hip injury myself that kind of took me out of sports as well. I have 3 metal spikes holding my hip in place, which is pretty damn terrible. But Bo, and he played after that injury. He played baseball, not at the same level that he was playing before. But just take a look at some of the Bo Jackson clips when he was on the Kansas City Royals and on the Raiders, and we was playing both. I mean, he finished out the baseball season and then came over to football a little late. But like, just look at him running up the wall with his cleats. And look at him, just
leading off the All-Star game.
Fire hose.
Leading off the All-Star game with a 450-foot home run.
Yeah, a cannon of an arm, like on a fly from the warning track, basically, to home plate, and just bulldozing people. I mean, Brian Bosworth. If you don't know this name, look him up. This was the college athlete. This was the defensive back. He was the epitome of late 80s, early 90s cool. He had the lines, the tracks in his hair, the mullet. I mean, the Boz. He was like in movies. Just take a look at what Bo Jackson did to that man. I mean, on the way to the end zone, he just ran through him and just kept running. And you see people now in the NFL who have that breakaway speed, the Dalvin Cooks, right? I think the closest thing would be like maybe a Derrick Henry type of running back now, but Bo is so much smoother, and so much faster.
Cage, he's so much faster. I mean, he's Deion Sanders speed. He's Deion. He's high 4.1s, 4.2 speed, and he's an absolute tank. Yeah. He was my clear-cut number 1. I had a very distant number 2 answer, which would be Grant Hill, because I think if Grant Hill had played, I think he would be firmly within the top 15 of all time with an outside chance of being very relevant.
Just to tie your 2 questions together, just so that we could have different conversations, I would have liked to have seen Bobby Hurley not get in a car accident and play a full career, because I think that's Bob Cousy now.
Yeah,
I think that you would have seen that type of, that's exactly my little comparison.
Yeah. I'm going to do a video coming up soon, so I'll throw some names out there anyway. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Greg Oden. People act like Greg Oden was a bust. He was a bust only because of injury. The guy was an absolute animal. I think he would have been a transcendent big. Grant Hill's another one. Of course, we wish Derrick Rose had not gotten injured. Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley, Jay Williams, who was Bobby Hurley after Bobby Hurley, National Player of the Year. There's a lot of guys. Reggie Lewis, for goodness sakes, is another one. So
Right.
Lynn Bias, long list of guys, but Bo, I think Bo is far and away number one because in my opinion, Bo Jackson in real life could have been better than Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl. Is that possible?
No.
No, it's not.
That was cheating using Bo Jackson.
That's right. Yeah.
People didn't care that I was a Raider fan.
Yeah.
They were like, no, it doesn't matter.
I think Bo would have been the greatest running back that ever lived. In all deference to Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders and Jim Brown and guys like that, I don't think I've ever seen anything like Bo Jackson in my lifetime. We just didn't get to see enough, man.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty clear-cut one.
Yeah. All right, that's 5 questions, but we're not done yet because I want to ask you some more questions. Tell me about, if you're comfortable, your 5 best cards. Five cards that mean the most to you. If you had to, like, off the top of your head, kind of think through it real quick.
Okay. Mean the most to me. I have a Babe Ruth 33 Gaudy, the 181, the green back, which is the worst of the 4 in PSA 4. I bought that card it might not have been my first paycheck out of law school, but it was definitely one of my first handful of paychecks. Yeah. Where, I still had a ton of student money. I still have student loans. I still have a ton of student loans. I'm coming out and you name it. But just kind of, it shows that I'm a collector. It shows, what I think of cards and how I've never really been far from cards. But we're talking about back in 2001. I started working. It was 9/11. I mean, everybody was probably hoarding their money, but I started actually getting money. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy this card. And I paid between $1,000 and $2,000 for it.
Oh my gosh, the price point must have been so delicious in 2001.
And I bought the same. I bought a PSA 5 of Lou Gehrig, and that was less than $1,000.
Amazing.
So I guess those are like 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
So those mean something. I mean, not just because they're great cards. I mean, I have better cards and more valuable cards than those, but just because it kind of shows. I love looking at those because the PSA celebs look like somebody did them on a typewriter. You know what I mean? Like it's so those mean like, all right, I've always kind of been in cards. I can tell you some stories, the cards that I missed out on. You know what I mean? Like, somebody offered me a whole 33 Gaudy set in 2003, with every Ruth was a 6. And it had a Nab Lashley was a 4, and I mean, like, what just the one Ruth 6 sells for is like 3 times what I could have bought the set for. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. But I did buy that Ruth. I did buy those. That's an important one. Believe it or not, the 84 Fleer updates, which are not expensive. Buying those, I bought those in like 2017. Buying those were fun little moments for me. I bought those. I won't sell them. I'll give them to Ian. I'll try to explain to my son what what those. But those
you bought the set, like the box set?
No, I just bought a PSA 10 of the Puckett and of the Clemens.
The
reason why is because there were kids in my neighborhood growing up who had those. Not PSA 10s, they had those.
I remember.
I had an 87 Topps Clemens, which is not anywhere near as rookie. I had 86 Topps. I didn't have, the 85. I didn't have definitely not the 84 Fleer updates. But those were there was like 2 kids who were really like well off. They had the houses that all the walls were their house and not attached to other people's like mine were. They had those cards. So to me, owning those
that
cards,
detached single family dwellings in my line of work.
Those were the rich people who had the detached single family. I did not. The house I bought for myself here. Which Citibank still owns, believe it or not. But the house I'm currently sitting in is the first house I ever lived in my life where it's fully detached, where all 4 walls are my own. So
that's a good start.
So that card meant, I don't want to say affluence, but like, all right, I made it.
Remember.
Look, Ma, I got the 84 Fleer updates. So
I vividly remember.
They carry some fun. Jerry Rice and Joe Montana rookie. I bought those about a month apart. And they carry a little fun for me because obviously those guys, I hated them when I was watching them because I wasn't a Niners fan. My brother was a Niners fan. Loved Montana, loved Rice. But I bought them literally like a month before the price exploded on them.
You got a Montana 10?
I have a Montana 10 and a Rice 10, yes.
Oh, man. Hang on to those forever. Those cards, the only reason they've come down is because, I mean, we could say this about every card, but they spike too much too fast and they've come down. But my gosh.
They're way back up, I believe. But those are also like,
they'll be fine.
If you stick to your guns and you stick to your rules, like those were ones where I noticed them drying up. I said, all right, there's not enough of these out there. I'm going to hit buy it now. I'm just going to buy one of each of these because I have a feeling it's going to explode. Now, I'm not a genius. Otherwise, I should have sold them at their peak and then bought back in and made money that way.
Yeah, but we could say that about a lot of different cards. Like that, those two, if you follow me on Instagram, anybody that does, I love pairings, cards that mean something in relation to each other. Putting those two PSA 10s next to each other would be like one of the best pictures you could take.
I literally bought them like a month apart.
That's incredible. I mean? Yeah, those are big time.
I said the price that I paid for the rice at the time was a record price for it.
Yeah,
and I didn't mind doing that because I knew it would just set records after that. I paid in the mid-30s for that and the mid-20s for the Montana. So it wasn't like I bought them for nothing, but I bought them right before they went like that.
Yep. All right, you're free to go. Anything else? Anything else we need to talk about? We're going to talk again. I'm sure we'll mix it back on our channel.
I feel like you could have answered all of these yourself because we have very similar thought processes, but you would have said them in a way where it didn't sound like you had marbles in your mouth like I do. Your listening audience would have understood it better. You could have just answered for me. Yeah. I love the Cage cardboard. Listen, man, I will tell you. What I'll leave your audience with, because I'm sure a lot of people are basketball fans, right? I have started, trending my collection more towards basketball. Yeah. Because you can't fight City Hall, you can't fight it. It is the most exciting sport out there now. I mean, I love football, but basketball. There's a lot of stars. There's a lot of investable talent in basketball. We're seeing talent right now with this generation better than we've ever seen before, and it's fun. And kids love it. My son is outside, playing basketball, yelling Curry. He's not. He'll throw a football around with me. Yeah, he likes Steph Curry actually, but he's not throwing a football around with me, running around saying Trey Lance.
No, he's not. He's definitely not. Yeah, I'm with you. Look, the NBA does such an incredible job of branding their players. I mean, promoting their players and the individualism of it, and that's why now, when we were kids, we started player chasing and checking Mattingly and Gwynn and Boggs and all those guys, but in the late 70s, I was trying to get the Yankees 1980 Topps team set. I was trying to collect the Oakland A's team set. But basketball obviously is it's changed the hobby to where you're collecting players, man. Your sets are sets of one player, not sets of teams or anything like that, or even sets as we know it, like 86 Fleer.
Go put a suit on. You got business to handle.
I do. Well, I don't have to wear a suit, thank God. I want to make sure the people at the closing table feel comfortable, so I'm going to put like a nice collared shirt on and some pants. I even have a belt. We even have belts down here in Louisiana.
You want to rock the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shirt?
I'm jealous.
So this was fun.
Yeah.
I know this is your stick, the 5 questions, but if you ever want me on, just ask. I'm in.
We're going to do it again. I appreciate your time, my friend.
Take care.
Later, bud. Bye.